Hello everyone, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me here today. So I thought what I would do for you guys is another little look at some Instagram hacks and other little bits that we can find. These are all kind of things that you have tagged me in. Let me just say something. Guys, I have seen the video of a woman with too much foundation on. I get tagged in it about 50 times a day. It's all I see on my Instagram notifications. And I'm glad you've seen it too. Okay, so let's just get straight into it. But first of all, before we get into that, hi. If you don't know who I am, my name is Robert. I'm a professional makeup artist here on YouTube and also in real life. And it is my goal to help you become a pro yourself or just someone who's really good at makeup. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, then please consider subscribing. Alright, let me shuffle this way and let's take a look at our first video. So, is squeezing your lips with something like that, even gently, can be very, very dangerous. You can really scar your lip, you can burst blood vessels, things like this. It's really not a good thing to do. I've seen people squeezing their noses for some reason, things like that. Please, please, please don't do that, because even if it does pump any kind of blood to the lip, and that's how your lips plump up, is by getting, plumping blood around there more, and it's only temporary. So is it worth it squeezing your lip like that for a 5 minute kind of plump? And also as well, you notice when people do these videos, their lips are actually going, I can't do it. They're still like having to pout. So is it really worth it? We can actually just overdraw, or like she's doing, also using a lip pumping lip gloss that will still only give you 10 minutes, like a 10-minute pout. It's really not worth damaging your skin. And it's also, to her, it's not worth damaging your lips just for, an Instagram video. Don't spread misinformation, dangerous misinformation that can ruin somebody's face. That's dumb. Be educational. Okay, I'm just gonna stop that there because the main reason I wanted to watch that one, you guys tag me a lot because I mentioned that Versali liquid powder a lot and how it's used really badly. Dropping it on your face like that and letting it dry, especially under your under eyes, the crepiness in the texture of that product under the eye is going to be insane. If you haven't seen my previous one of these videos, I use that method that she's doing where you leave it on the face to dry out. And then I show you how it looks under foundation in real lighting, and the texture is. Also, the creator of Versali, someone tagged me in this, so thank you for doing that, in a recent story, pointed out this method and said how it is not beneficial and how that isn't how a product is meant to be used. It's literally a visual thing on Instagram. Okay, I'm going to stop that one there also. The main reason I wanted to look at that one is because using a product like that is going to add a glow, and then completely covering it with a full coverage matte foundation defeats the purpose of using that product in the first place. And now you're using excess product that's going to break down your foundation even quicker for no reason. So this is it's a very classic method to highlight underneath the skin before you use foundation, or even better, mixed in with your foundation. So she could have mixed in that glowy product with her foundation. It's a matte finish foundation, but you obviously don't want it to be matte because you have that glow underneath, so there's no harm in adding that glow to your foundation, if that makes sense. So I would have added it. You can mix it in with a foundation. It would be incredible. You have a really nice glow. There's nothing wrong with an all over glow, I don't think. I had to start off by saying I've been following this girl on Instagram for a very long time. She's extremely artistic and talented. She's just incredible. Like, her makeup is incredible to look at. This stippling method, I think somebody tagged me in this with the intent of it being like, oh, look what she's doing. And I read through some of the comments and they were like, why is she doing this? Why is she adding freckles? First of all, freckles is a personal preference. If you want them, you want them. If you don't, you don't. Fine, whatever. It's a nice added step of makeup. If you don't like your own, fine. Some people want them. So this stippling sponge technique is a theatre technique. People use it to do facial hair. People use it to add depth and dimension to the skin because it adds a sporadic kind of texture so it doesn't look too uniform and patterned. So that's actually a really great way to do freckles. It clearly works on her. Yeah, it's a technique that works. Again, the color, however, the placement is really good. I always think about, right, when people get their lips done, where do they kind of get injected? It's more here than it is here. You know, so it's nicer to kind of overdraw from the corner of this mouth to like the tip corner of your cupid's bow, depending on what shape you're trying to make your lip, but I find that works for quite a lot of people. If you're gonna overline it with this kind of technique, that color she was using is maybe a little bit too red. I would use a contour cream product, or that's probably like a deeper concealer, and not one that's too warm because then you just look like you have spaghetti mouth. Like, you know, you've eaten some kind of red sauce. You want it to be shadow. You want it to mimic shadow, and shadow is grey in tone. It's grey in tone, which I just said. It looks like shadow. When you look at shadow, well, I don't know why I'm pointing around because there's light in the room, but when you look at shadow, it is dark, it's grey, it's not warm. It doesn't have a tan tone to it. So without going too grey, I would make it greyer. Yeah, that does work in a sense of you're lifting up this area here, but I feel like when you're lifting, she then added like all these other little bits of concealer, but then just made it the usual under eye concealer application. So when you're lifting, you want areas of the face to be higher, you want this to be higher, you want this to be higher, so you'll add light here. If you're just adding that strip of light again, that's just a normal technique. That's just a normal concealer technique. So it's no different to anything else. And also as well, you can see she's done the normal contour, which is to bring it from here to the corner of her mouth. When, oh, I got a really horrible spot there. Ow. When really, if we're going to lift, we want this sharp, jagged lift. You know, not jagged. We want this sharp lift that goes up like this. We don't want this sweep. You can have a sweep, but go up like this. To lift, we want to sharpen off this cheekbone around here. It's almost like you're sculpting around your hairline rather than your face. So see, this has a little bit more structure to it now than this side. Where this side I'm wearing bronzer that just does this kind of shape. Whereas on this side, we're cutting off here. So it makes it look like our cheekbone is going up this way rather than just coming down. And I wouldn't bring that all the way to the corner of my mouth, to be honest with you. I'll stop it around here. And then I would highlight here. if we want that sharp kind of like lip. I think you need to be a little bit clever with where you're putting that product. Well, here's 5-minute crafts to ruin our lives again. Okay, there was quite a bit there. The first one with the lashes, great technique. That's absolutely fine. That's a very old Hollywood technique as well, to lift the kind of lash and lift it up. That's why like Marilyn Monroe's look was so iconic, because hers was more down and sleepy. It was so different to having it up, you know, like that. That's a nice classic technique. What does she do next? Brillo pad on the face. No, there's a difference between a sponge and a Brillo pad. Gentle. We want to be gentle with our skin. Lip tint on the eyes. So I'm all fine for a little bit of lip tint in here to kind of neutralize the color as a last resort. That kind of peel off lip tint that stains the skin. First of all, do be careful on the eyes. Lip tints tend to be quite cheap. So they can be quite aggressive on the eye. It's going to stain a lot. That's really going to stain, because that's its job. Also as well, you can't blend out the edges of a lip tint or a stain. So you have to be very careful with what colors you're using. She used the lighter color over the edges of that. The only way you can make that look blended is to use a darker color to cover the seam of that product. 5-minute crafts. Naughty. Okay, I'm going to stop that there before I forget everything. So what did we start off with? That weird powder application. The bronzer kind of contour situation in terms of depth and colour actually looks the same on both sides. That could be a little bit more natural. But the application positioning was a very... Oh, I just knocked the table. It was a very, very good point to bring it up here and be a little bit mindful of where you're positioning, where you're sculpting. The highlighter as well was a very good point, not to just put it anywhere, but then on the other side it was dangerously close to the bronze and contour, which can give you a very grey undertone, so just watch out. It gives that silvery grey tone that you see people when it looks muddy. Okay, so that was tips for people who wear glasses and makeup. Let's first of all just start by saying there is a kind of thing with eye makeup and when you wear glasses where you do have to be a tiny bit extra. But first of all, using concealer as a base and then putting a cream product on top, that's going to be creasing within 5 minutes. Easy. Long lashes like that, are you kidding me? If I was to wear any lashes that I wear and then put my glasses on, my lashes will be rubbing up and down the lens like this, you know? It's not exactly practical. Baking under the eye when you are wearing glasses, especially if they magnify the eye area quite a bit, you are asking for magnified crepiness under the eyes, texture, lines, double zoomed in, and everyone can see it. Don't bake under your eyes if you wear glasses. Do not put powder under your eyes if you wear glasses. Here, yes, you know, to stop a bit of transfer. Not that always works. A lot of people asking for a tip for that. Nothing really helps. Was it Jackie Aina who put a little bit of product on the actual glasses themselves? That seems to work for her. But it's like rubbing something against makeup and being like, how can I stop it coming off? Doesn't work. What was quite nice about that tutorial was the shimmer, the shade actually used on the lid. You do want something a little bit brighter and lighter because we want to highlight an area that's kind of shadowed by the glasses. So by brightening this whole area up in the lid here, maybe using a tiny bit of concealer that's a little bit lighter, you're kind of brightening up that area there.
Yo, I got a treat for you guys today. You ever wish you could have the really clean, smooth under eyes with no patchiness and just a nice, even application of concealer? That's what we're doing today. Alright, step 1, just apply your foundation as you normally would. However, avoid the eye area. Now, it's gonna look like this. You're gonna take your ColourPop Pretty Fresh hyaluronic spray, or any spray with hyaluronic, spray it on your whole face to draw in moisture and smooth out lines. Looking shiny. Now, you're gonna take an eye concentrate. Very different than an eye cream. It has to be a concentrate. I'm using the Clinique Moisture Surge. This shit is sticky as fuck. You're just gonna put it right on that under eye area. Now gently pat it in with your sponge and then let it sit for like 2 minutes. I'm gonna lay my concealer down and I'm gonna start blending it in. And you should not have to set with powder with this technique. That's with the concealer on. Now I'm gonna finish my face.
So she looks great, and obviously that voice is the voice of this girl. I can't remember her name. That's how you apply concealer anyway. That's how people should be applying concealer anyway. You shouldn't be putting foundation around your eyes. Do people do that? Is that something people do? I didn't realise. We always say the skin under the eyes is very thin. The more product you build up, the more product there is to weigh down your skin and drag it down and just hang, you know, and just pull down the skin in like, you know, a very small way. So you shouldn't be using foundation around your eyes unless you don't plan on using concealer, fine, whatever. But you shouldn't be using foundation under the eye at all. That's just where your concealer should be. In terms of eye cream or an eye concentrate, same goes for an eye gel or something like that. Gels, concentrates, serums tend to have this eye serum, eye specifically, tend to have a stickier kind of finish. That's another reason I always like to recommend eye creams or gels for areas of the skin that are more dehydrated and look really horrible under makeup. It's not to hydrate the skin, it's like a quick fix for your makeup in terms of the way it sits. Because it gives a sticky, smooth texture that just grips and holds. I wouldn't recommend using it over the whole face, but it does work on those areas. And you don't need to set under eyes with powder. You don't need to bake. I get so many people saying, oh, but how is my eyes gonna stay if I don't, how is my concealer gonna not crease if I don't bake? You're using too much product. Maybe your concealer's too heavy. Do you need that heavy concealer? Or do you just think you need a heavy concealer? Maybe you don't need as much product as you think. So this is another one I was tagged in where people are like, oh my god. Okay, so I don't like drawing on the face because I feel like it adds too much excess product. And usually when people do that, they do the foundation and then they start to sculpt and carve out the face. What this lady did here was only use those products. So it's not excess product. It's not going to look as overly cakey and heavy as it does with foundation underneath. She only used those products. And this is something I've seen a lot recently, especially with people with freckles who still want them to show. They kind of stop around here and kind of just blend around it to let some natural skin come through. She looked amazing at the end of it. It clearly works for her. I don't think she needed that bright touch of concealer on the inside corner. I think it already looked nice and smooth and like a little bit brighter under the eye. All right, guys, so that was the crazy world of Instagram and TikTok again. Thank you so much for joining me. I would ask that you take things like this that you see online with a pinch of salt. Remember, when you see tutorials like this on social media, it's very much a for entertainment purposes only kind of situation. Please consider subscribing if you liked this video, and yeah, thanks guys, bye.